Hey everybody, as promised, here is my first vlog review of a film I watched for the first time today. I'm here to talk to you about Fruitvale Station. Fruitvale Station was the debut feature film of director Ryan Coogler, who went on to make The Magnificent Creed, as well as what I'm hoping will be The Magnificent Black Panther. So Coogler made this movie back in 2013, a mere 4 years after Oscar Grant was murdered on the subway station or the BART station in San Francisco on New Year's Eve 2009. The film actually opens with real footage shot on cell phones of Oscar Grant being murdered on the BART. It's literally taken like seconds after he was shot and being handcuffed by the officer who shot him. It was interesting. The film quality was a little grainy, and I think this was deliberate. I think we were really trying to sell the reality of what was happening. So this film is not. It's not really about. I want to say it doesn't have much of a through line, except it's a slice of life. It is really just a look at the last day of Oscar Grant's life. It was showing us a little bit about his time in prison, a little bit about his relationship with his mother, a little bit about his relationship with the mother of his child, a little bit about his relationship with his child, his friends, the people he interacted with. And it really showed a conflicted man. There was a great scene with Oscar going to his job, what we thought was his job, but turned out he had been fired for being late repeatedly. Oscar was struggling to really get a grip on his life. But in a moment, talking to his friend at a deli/seafood counter, he ended up helping a nice white woman who was struggling to figure out how to do a fish fry. He calls his grandmother, puts her on the phone so this woman can talk to her about what to do in a fish fry, because this woman was trying to impress her friends, but really didn't know any kind of Southern or Black culture. And it was a really nice moment where we got to see a great side of Oscar, which was then followed immediately by him threatening his old manager in an effort to get his job back and get stability in his life. So we got to see the hard and soft of a conflicted man, a man trying to better himself for his family and himself, but ultimately struggling with that grip of reality. So that juxtaposition was really impactful in telling us more about our character, about our focus of this film. We then get a scene that I will say is a little heavy-handed. And I don't necessarily think it happened on the last day of Oscar's life, although maybe it did. I would more imagine that Coogler heard this story and decided that to show a side of Oscar that maybe we wouldn't normally see, he puts the scene there because it could have happened. Oscar comes upon a dog, a nice pit bull, goes and sees it, pets it while he's pumping gas, and then a minute later, the pit bull is hit by a car. We hear the dog whimper, and we see the car drive off, and Oscar angrily chases it down before coming to spend some time with the dog as it dies in his arms, showing the heart that Oscar has through that thick, hardened ex-con veneer. We see a lot of that in this film. We see a lot of Oscar the man, Oscar trying to find some balance between the guy who served time for we don't know what, but we know that his time wasn't easy. We see a man with his mother coming to visit him in prison and almost getting into a fight with another inmate, showing us a lot of angles of people, not just Oscar, but we also meet Oscar's friends who are lighthearted and fun, but also, putting on an image in the street and trying to be, tough guys when needed. We really haven't seen this honest of a portrayal of people, in my opinion. There's some angry white people out there that think that this movie humanized a man who didn't deserve it. I read so many little angry outbursts about how, well, Oscar Grant was a convict, hence this movie is portraying him in an unfair, biased light to try to humanize a guy who had done some time, so that means he deserved to be murdered in cold blood on a platform of the BART on New Year's Eve. I strongly disagree with that assessment, and I think this movie does a great job of arguing that yes, this man had done some time, and yes, this man was having problems, and he was conflicted, and he wasn't perfect. He was a flawed human being, but at the end of the day, he was a father. He was a partner to his daughter's mother, who was considering marriage. This relationship with his mother, the fact that his mother and he had a hard relationship based on his time in prison. She had stopped visiting him. She had not given up on him, but she had kind of pulled back and made him really take a look at his life and where it was going and where he wanted it to go. He was conflicted with his work and trying to make a living honestly versus an I don't want to call it easier, but a more convenient way, which would have been on the streets. When he tells his girl that he not only lost his job 2 weeks ago, but he also stopped dealing with the wrong people to make money, she's conflicted as well because she needs that money to support their family, but at the same time, she doesn't want to lose him again. And I think these are all very important themes that play out in this movie that, again, are just underrepresented in a real way. And I think that speaks a lot to Coogler here, to Ryan Coogler. He's a young man. He's younger than myself, I learned. He's like 31 years old. And he's just a very wise man for a man his age. I truly respect his vision and his interpretation and the way he tells a story that I wouldn't have been able to learn otherwise. I don't have that insight. So to get it from a source that feels so genuine and so tied to it is really just a gift for all of us, I think. And I think the people that are angry that he humanized a black man who has served time for whatever reason, our culture as a whole, go out of their way to dehumanize a black man who spent any time in jail, no matter what the reason, no matter what the circumstance. But the media makes sure that we see the least human version of black men when they've been killed, especially by police, as a way to break us down into characterizing them as animals, as opposed to the people they were before their lives were taken. Because it's easier and it's more American to back the police no matter what the circumstance. And the easiest way to do that is to dehumanize people. So bravo, Ryan Coogler, for humanizing but not glamorizing the life of Oscar Grant. The end of the film is a chance encounter with the same man we saw him get into a fight with in front of his mother while in prison. Apparently they were both out. They were both on this train on New Year's Eve, and they got into a scuffle. The scuffle ended, and the police showed up to apprehend and keep this from escalating, as is their job. These are BART transit police. The transit cops show up, and of course you've got the boisterous, loud white cop who's angry about the thug loud black guys who are on his subway causing a scene in his day and blah 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 blah. There's a woman who, to be fair, they're being a little aggressive towards this woman, and they're all a little aggressive because they're being thrown to the ground and threatened for nothing. We then see him on the ground. He's filming them with his phone. More people are filming with their phone. Eventually, this younger looking officer puts his knee on the back of his neck, is trying to get him in cuffs and threatening him, but not allowing him to move until eventually he gets frustrated for some reason, we don't know, pulls out his gun and shoots him in the back while he's subdued with a knee behind his neck. This was what was caught on film, on cell phones. The judge and the jury saw this. The cop argued that he thought he had pulled his taser, didn't know it was his gun. I don't know that much about both, but I've held one of each, and there's a very significant difference. And if you're trained like these cops are supposed to be, especially in California, where it's not as easy to just have a gun, the cops have to be trained to use their weapons, and they should know the difference. But the jury and the judge bought this because that's the way our legal system works in favor of the police no matter what. And this man was let off with 2 years in jail and only served 11 months and has been back on the streets ever since. Meanwhile, back to the film, we see Oscar lives initially through the shot, is taken to the hospital. His family and friends all arrive, and he has to have his lung removed. I mean, that's a death sentence. I'm sorry. And blood transfusions aren't working, and Oscar succumbs to his injuries. And Octavia Spencer, who plays his mother, delivers a gut-wrenching performance as she sees her son lying on this slab, just this meat, this husk of what was her son, and she can't even hug him because technically he's a crime scene. And kudos to the police and the hospital, at least I'd say the hospital, for recognizing that this is an act of murder and they don't want to ruin the chances of conviction. But unfortunately, our legal system stepped in and made sure that wasn't the problem anyway, because again, this cop got off because he was confused about the weapon he used to murder this man. The last shot of this movie is what kind of brought me to a bit of a weepy mess. It's Oscar's girl and his daughter in the shower. The mother putting her hands through her daughter's hair. The morning after her father had been killed, and the daughter looking up and asking where her father was, and that I think was a really great way for Ryan Coogler to end this movie. And to just make you think about your gut reaction to the murder of these men, these innocent men, Oscar Grant, fucking Eric Garner, Mike Brown, all of these innocent men and women who have been murdered by the police, and how we dehumanize them. And we don't consider the lives they've lost, the people that their lives meant to, the children, the wives, the mothers, the families, the brothers, the sisters. They go on knowing this happened, and that we just sat here and didn't think of them as people. And we thought, well, they had done wrong once in their lives, so who's to assume they didn't do wrong again? They're people. Their lives were ended prematurely and unjustly, and there was no justice for this. Ryan Coogler made an amazing movie that, again, was very simple. There wasn't a lot of build-up, and out of prison trying to get his life on track. This is the last day of a man's life before he dies at the hands of the police. And I felt it throughout. And knowing that the end of this movie, because of the reality, was the death of this man, the last like 30 minutes and the whole train and his time in San Francisco leading up to him getting arrested and killed, these were tense moments that Coogler really like just made you, grab your knees and expect the worst and wait for it and wonder. You're almost hoping for the character. You're hoping for Oscar, but there's no hope, and you're just bracing for the hit. And the hit is really, really amazing. Kevin Durant, I believe, is the actor. He's been on The Strain most recently. He was on Lost. Big white dude. Usually plays a Eastern European character in what he's doing. But he plays the asshole cop who's giving shit to Michael B. Jordan's Oscar and is roughing him up a little bit. But he's not the cop that shoots him. In fact, after Oscar is shot, in an interesting twist, and again a kind of juxtaposition between the character's motivations and reality, ends up being the one that holds Oscar's hand and tells him to keep his eyes open and is trying to be with him so that he's not alone while suffering this awful happening. While he's responsible for the escalation, there is still a human being there. And again, Ryan Coogler masterfully juggling what could have been caricatures, but instead showing us layers of all of our characters, not just our victims, not just our main characters, not black and white, both racially and symbolically. We're seeing human beings dealing with real situations and real consequences. This was a heavy first movie for this project, but I'm glad I chose it. I look forward to something a little more lighthearted tomorrow, hopefully. If you disagree with me, reach out, comment below. If you agree with me, reach out and comment below. I love to hear it. If you've got suggestions for the next movie or music I should listen to, comment below. But ultimately, subscribe. Stay with me. I'm going to do this every day. This is day one. This is Monday, January 29th. Yeah, January 29th. We're going to keep doing this, people. We'll see you next time.